Right, we're getting set up. Hi, everybody. Emma just sent me a text. Hi, Emma. I'm going to try Emma. I made you a sorry about that. I made you a co-host. I'm going to spotlight myself for the moment. I'm going to be I'm doing the tech stuff. So I've got us live streaming on YouTube and on the Mighty Network, which is kind of exciting. Emma, can you hear me? Cool. Okay. You're welcome to be unmuted. Emma, I'm just going to show you, maybe people will be excited or maybe not, but the experimental sketchbooks have arrived that we're going to be testing our branding iron out on. So when the branding iron comes. And also Janice, one of our students, clued me into this, which I've been looking for some version of, but I've never found a good one. It's a comic book with a variety of different layouts. So I'm also going to try branding that, but I don't think that's going to work because that's like flimsy plastic, but we'll try it anyway. So that's just, so welcome everybody who has come. We're going to ask that people stay muted until the end when there'll be plenty of time to ask questions. This is live on YouTube and live on Mighty Network as well, and we're going to try and answer any questions that we see there, but definitely here as well. And you're welcome to raise your hand at any time or just save questions for the end, and you're welcome to do that on mic or camera. My cat is destroying something back there. I guess I'll find out later. So we'll get started in 20 seconds. I want to start on time because I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and also I'm on a deadline, and I need to pick up my daughter at soonish. Let's see. I'm gonna text Carlo. Oh, we're about ready to start. Let's see. I'm gonna tell Carlo to find the YouTube and the Mighty Network chats. Okay, I'm going to start recording again, and then we'll start. Thanks everybody for coming. We've got 18 people so far, but I expect we'll have more. There we go. So welcome to everybody who's here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for responding to our emails and not minding so many of them. Emma is my co-host, and Emma, as you always know, please interrupt if I've missed anything or need to hurry it up. Also, I added some slides this year, so it's a little bit longer, but maybe that won't be a problem. I'm going to start by sharing my screen and telling you all where you are and why we're here. We're here to talk about the year-long certificate program that we offer at SAW. We've offered it for 11 years. I think this is our 11th year. Online, this is our online only. This is our 3rd year. So there we go. This is our live stream. And forgive me, I'm going to be sipping coffee through some of this. I also have a really sensitive microphone, so hopefully it won't hear me sipping too much. Anyway, here we are, the live Q&A for the year-long comic certificate program. Excuse me, it says full online course bundle. If you've seen that image and are wondering what a bundle is, it's because it's about 10 courses all at once. Actually, it's about 11. And so that's what that means. One thing we want you to know is that SAW is a real place. It's in Gainesville, Florida. This is an early version of it, even before Emma saw it. I think this is from 2015 or something like that. But it was always very convivial, people working together, sharing supplies, sharing inspiration. Really an exciting place. And we've moved around a bunch, and we have a nice new spot now. And we'll even invite you there because we're setting up some weeks in between the semesters that we'll be doing week-long programs. So here's some other shots of some of the down and dirty art making we did. That was a really special couple of weeks there. In that real space, we did art shows. This was one of our proudest moments, a really big art show with some guest artists from the Congo was one, and Tanzania was another, I can't remember. And then a bunch of our own artwork. Anyway, this was done through University of Florida, and just a magnificent time. And we did tons and tons of art shows, but I think this was our biggest and our best. Some of the other art shows we've done, student art shows, lots of them. End of the year, sometimes highlighting particular students. This was end of the year for Kelsey Norman, who just like banged it out of the park, did such an amazing amount of work. And anyway, we're really proud of all of our students who've done so much. Here are some of the instructors you'll meet. Sydney Davidson teaches the drawing portion of the course, or at least some of it, the special expressions and gestures. Here's a little bit about him. I'm gonna be moving kind of quickly through most of these slides. Hopefully, I don't want to stay too long on any of them, but you're welcome to ask us later if you have questions, or also ask me for copies of the slides. Justine Mara Anderson, who's one of the first people that worked for SAW, is a genius and just a really, really special instructor, and she's part of the program too. Ayani Cooper, I think our only doctor in the program is Ayani Cooper, and she'll be handling modern comics exploration. We'll talk about that. Rob Clow, hard to get a good picture of Rob, but he's one of the coordinators of SPX, the Small Press Expo, and he's the person who handles our history course, and he's really a great guy and has really a lot of vision about what comics can be. Jess Rellefson is one of our main mentors. She'll be around a lot, and she's a great instructor who has worked for School of Visual Arts and a bunch of other places. She's got a book coming out in a few months. Lauren Weinstein, one of my oldest friends, who was also an SVA instructor. She's also hard at work on a book. I just heard recording in progress and really big, okay. Anyway, I hope it's been recording this whole time, but I think we're good. Anyway, Lauren, there's Emma. There's two pictures of Emma, and you can ask Emma or myself about some of what we've done and why we're here and stuff like that. But there's Emma, and here's me. All this stuff will give me a chance to take a cup of coffee, and then we'll move on. Because you're probably getting frustrated and saying, okay, fine, what's in it for me? So we like to think there's a lot in this program for you. We'll start with a community of fellow artists. You'll be working with a few dozen, actually. Depends on how vibrant it gets, and but definitely we'll have a few dozen enrolled. Fellow artists, always working, always working together, always commenting, always asking the similar questions and trying to solve the same problems, and also celebrating our wins and things like that, and commiserating. That happens a lot too. You'll interact with all the instructors in the Mighty Network. The Mighty Network is our community platform. All of the instructors I mentioned will be in the network, commenting directly on your work, giving you feedback and answering any questions. And a goal to work towards. Last year, there's a copy of our final project. I'll show you if you can still, I'm not sure if I'm even still on screen, but this is 2 years ago. This is the book from 2 years ago. And Emma, at the end of the program, I'll ask Emma to show that version, and it's quite a bit larger, but it's got some fabulous work. And so every year we put out a student anthology of all the work, all of it. I mean, everyone is represented, not everything we've done, because that would be like that big, because we do a lot of work in the project or in the program, but everybody's best work. And it's also a tested curriculum that works. This is Sally Cantorino. She was our first student, literally our first student. I sort of started the school with her in mind. And this was her end of the year show. And here she is now. If you Google her, there's all the images of comics that she's done. There she is on the Simon & Schuster webpage. We're super, super proud of her. She was our first student, and she did it for work study. She was in her early 20s, maybe even 19 or something. Anyway, she's a great student, and just an example that like we've been doing this a long time and have had a lot of great results. So what's in the SAW Comic Certificate Program? First, let me say there are 4 quarters. I'll go back one step. There are 4 quarters. Each quarter has 3 classes, with the exception of the 4th quarter, which is just free time to work. That's guided free time. So we'll talk about the 3 quarters. We'll talk about the 3 classes in each quarter right now. So the first one is drawing for comics. It looks like this. We talk about, this is a weekly setup. So we talk about the gesture in the first week, expressions, putting people in spaces, which yes, it involves perspective, arranging the elements in a panel, composing shots, and then week 6 is always integration and final assignment. We'll talk about that, and that's the same for each class. It's a final integration. So here is Sydney, an example of Sydney helping people sort out their perspective woes in the Mighty Network. And here's one of last year's students, Mahor. And I can't think of two people less alike than Mahor and Sydney, but Mahor got a lot out of this. This is fantastic, she says. Thank you so much, Sydney. Thank you for answering my question. I appreciate it. I can't wait to start trying to draw on more complicated perspectives. That little symbol. My class, I teach a class every quarter as well. The first one is called storytelling. It's story in the panel, silent stories, playing with time, page design, story structure. And then the 6th week, again, is sort of integrating everything. And so as an example, we start with the Far Side. We look at how it sort of works with 2 time frames at once. And then we talk about narrative painting and other things like that. And from there, we build up into longer storytelling. And then the hidden history of comics, which is all, which doesn't have any exercises with it, just lots of topics for conversation. It's lectures about comics, largely through the lens of how have comics been distributed and how have they been, how have people produced them and tried to get them in front of people, and how have other people tried to not get other comics in front of people. And so there's some really interesting socio-political things at play. So the first week's about distribution, then underground, queer, and international comics, kids comics and Archie comics, political comics, zines and memoir, and then sort of innovative comics. And that's quarter 1. And at the end, oops, there's an example. Sorry, he talks about the Cupid dolls, for instance, by Rose O'Neill, that became this huge sensation. And then at the end, we spend 2 to 3 weeks working on a 4 to 6 page comic, integrating everything we've learned. And so that's an example of what that'll be. Semester 2, which is late October, I think, somewhere in there, excuse me. Depth and Details with Justine is one of the most intense courses in that it's very vivid and it really gives a lot. A lot of people find this really sort of groundbreaking and a little bit life-changing. She talks about learning how to see in depth, the hidden layers, details at work, organizing the details, look piece by piece, and then pulling it all together. In this simple drawing here, half a drawing, she talks about all the clutter on this ground and what kind of research she did and why she chose to put it there, and also how she chose to render it. But she also will talk about Bollywood and just about anything that strikes her fancy that helps explain depth and composition and details. My class is called Ideas and Vision, and it's mostly about sort of connecting with who you are a little bit and making your comics a little more personal. We play a little game where we invent a bunch of characters and then put different word balloons over it. It's a little lightweight sometimes, this course, because this past one is so intense. And so we try not to overly burden you, but towards the end, actually, it gets pretty intense also. And then Modern Comics Exploration with Dr. Ayani Cooper. It's going to be a lot of reading and conversations about reading. Again, here are the 6 weeks: autobiographical comics, newspapers and strips, smaller units, combating marginality, drawing space and time, web comics and manga aesthetics. And there'll be lots of PDFs provided 1 week in advance, and Ayani will host weekly calls on a separate schedule from our normal check-in calls, which is our check-in calls are about the work, how's the work going. Those check-in calls are just conversational about the stuff you're reading in her class. We don't know what that schedule will be yet. And then assignment 2, there's a 2 to 3 weeks to work on a final sort of summary project on that too. And then we get into quarter 3. Comics Frontiers is my course, and in it we are looking at the outskirts of like, what are comics? How can I make comics that are a little bit different? And one way we look at is fumetti, which is photo comics. Here's an old one with Debbie Harry from Blondie and Joey Ramone from the Ramones that not a lot of people have seen. So I tried to show some examples of actual comics in some of these other formats. And so we play around with that. And that's kind of my favorite part of the course for myself personally. Finishing Decisions is by Lauren Weinstein, and she will show you all the ways in which she has produced comics and some of the options that are available to you, such as working in pencil, working in ink, working in paint, working digitally, working in combination of analog and digital, and finally sort of collecting the pages, preparing files, and things like that. And so there's one example of Lauren's work that she had in the Village Voice, done only in pencil, and how she managed to sort of take something that was done largely in a sketchbook and make it palatable and really beautiful for online. It might have been in print in the Village Voice too. And then the final course is called, or at least in the third quarter, is called Markets, Art, and Practice. And it's a variety of conversation starters and a lot to talk about and a lot to take in. And it's about being an artist, and it's about being an artist in a market-driven art form, but also an art form in general. And we try to separate what is market-driven and what is about maintaining a practice, and what is about the beauty of the particular art form. And we try and sort all that out and have a lot of deep conversations about that as we go. And it dovetails into something that we'll do in the fourth quarter, which is dive deep into publishing and printing. So one example of that is we have some exclusive content, like Matt Boers, the editor at the Nib, gave us a bunch of answers about what he looks for in a pitch and stuff like that. And then again, this is the third semester, the third quarter, and we do a final project that's 2 to 3 weeks where we focus on that. By the way, if I haven't been clear, all the drawing and storytelling courses, there's weekly exercises. Those weekly exercises can take as little as 10 minutes, even as little as 5 minutes to 20 minutes to half an hour to an hour if you like. It's a lot of work. But like any course, the more you put in, the more you'll get out. But those exercises aren't mandatory. We post those in the network and we see how everybody's doing it, and we talk about them and talk about how we're learning and what we're learning as a result of it. The assignments, however, are mandatory for getting your certificate at the end of the year. So anyway, the fourth quarter is online mentoring with a cohort of about 5 or 6 people. Excuse me while I take a cup of coffee. And our mentors like Jess Rullefson and some of the others will work with your small group. And you'll have about 6 weeks with the mentor and have about 8 to 10 weeks to work on your project. And they will help you get that final project in shape. And that final project is a freeform comic for, as I showed before, it's for the anthology that we're submitting and we'll be printing over the summer. There's Emma showing hers too, but I'll make sure we show that, and maybe Emma can tell us more. Actually, Emma, you know what? I'm going to spotlight you. Now's a good chance to talk about that. There we go. Wait, I got to stop sharing. Can we see you, Emma? Yeah, well, you should tell us a little about last year's anthology.
Sure. So this is our latest anthology, fresh from the printer. And it features work from, I think, final submissions, there were 25 different artists, or almost 30. And it is, let's see, 225 pages of work. I don't know how to.
It's okay. Actually, I have a PDF of it that I'm about to show, but I'm going to whip through it really fast, but it's beautiful.
Okay. Well, I think my favorite thing about our anthologies is the way that it brings together a lot of different voices and different styles and interests in a way that I don't often see. So I think everyone comes out the other side wanting to demonstrate something different in comics, and it's really wonderful.
That's great. That's a great way to phrase it. All right, I'm going to replace the spotlight because I'm going to share my screen again as I finish up. I'm doing it really well on time. Let me see. Here it is. So yeah, so this is actually all 220 pages or something really quickly. So this is a chance for me and Emma just to say how proud we are of last year's students and just how much amazing work there is and how much interesting development there is. And I'm just looking at some of this and remembering like when a particular, we had something. When a particular sort of like brainstorm came, or a certain revelation where somebody was like, oh, I could do it this way. This woman signed her comic she started a year ago, and then she revised it after everything she learned. Oh, there's a great page from Dante. Anyway, a lot of great work, a lot of people making big strides, I think. And you can see that the variety of styles, there's a ton. Sorry, I'm going so fast, it's not catching up to me. There we go. There's a variety of styles, and everybody is really encouraged to find their own sort of way of telling stories and way of making marks and using words and pictures and all that stuff. That was that Anjali over there, because Anjali is another success story. She just signed a contract. By the way, success stories are not always about contracts with big publishers. To me, even the smallest mini comic, if you got it out and felt good about it. That's a major success. But Anjali got a book deal with Simon & Schuster that she's really excited about. Anyway, here we go. I don't know when this ends. Oh, I think so anyway, so now you're seeing a bunch of some of the work that's out there. And maybe even Emma can put the URL to purchase a copy in the chat. Because if you'd like one, or you can come find us at SPX in a couple of weeks. I think we're almost done here. There's Daniel Brown, such great work from Daniel. Yeah, there we go. So to answer some questions that tend to come up, we'll have weekly Zoom calls. I think those are already getting set on the schedule. They're Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern or Mondays at 8 p.m. They alternate. I forget which comes first. I think 2 p.m. on September 5th. Which of course is Labor Day, is going to bother everybody, but then we'll have one on the 8th or a week later, and it'll be good. You'll get discounts on other courses, which are ancillary. The truth is I don't think you need more, but if you are really hungry for more, there's other courses which we offer at a steep discount, or even some are free, including Justine, another capstone course for Justine, which is inking in Vision, about working in actual ink. I'm going to scroll through these because there's like a gazillion testimonials here. The more important thing is to show that just how many testimonials we have. This is a nice one to start though, Vanessa. I really owe this program. I've been plagued by a gap between the work I make and the work I wish I was making. This is the first time I felt the gap close. And I really owe this program for that. And yeah, I mean, it was so exciting to have Vanessa come and say that. And especially like most of the people we get are talented, or they have it read, they have something and they're just trying to wrestle with it. How do I get it out there? How do I make it so I'm happy with it? Those are the questions that come out. Like I mean, you wouldn't be here if you didn't have a drive to do this. But a lot of times you can't figure out what the frustrations are. What sometimes you don't even know what you need to learn. And so Vanessa got that through our program. Monica, who did our cover here, says, I never paid this much attention to what a banana looks like before. I don't remember that conversation, but Justine has me looking at closers. Or closer at caves. That's definitely part of Justine's program. I'm super excited to do these. It's been pushing me. I love it. This section blew my mind. I like this one. This is the strangest experience of school I've ever experienced. It was in the middle, it was right at the beginning of COVID. So I hope that's part of it. And then it's not just that we're so strange, but Violet also says it was also one of the best experiences of school I've ever had, meaningful and valuable. So I'm really happy about that too. And anyway, it's been a delight. Aman is plays it close to the chest, says it's been worthwhile. Amy Lou came and visited us in Gainesville just a couple weeks ago. I'm loving this program. Michael, who's one of our main volunteers now, he says it actually changed his life. Anyway, testimonial. And we, in our Mighty Network, we have a student success section where people talk about the things that have come up. There's Anjali, and Beth Tremblay has a new book coming out. Kelsey has been one of our, she came to one of our in-person programs. Sue Kelly was in last year's graphic novel program and has a great book out. It's actually almost within reach there because I really enjoyed reading it a couple of times. Anyway, a lot of successes, and you can even see some of those by going over to our website. So I think that's everything I've got. That is in a really quick 20-minute nutshell what we do here. And so if you have questions, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to raise my own hand. So just because I like to be sort of at the forefront. So we will take questions if anyone's got them. I'll remove my spotlight even. And I'll also see if anyone in the Mighty Network has questions. Okay, Susanna has a question. Just give me 1 second to see if Carlo is monitoring the stream in the Mighty Network. And also I'm going to go to YouTube in a second as well. No questions there. Carlo, if you're listening, text me. Okay, so excuse me. So Susanna and Janice. Oh, good. We got some questions. So I'll start with Susanna. Go ahead, Susanna.
I'm wondering what the cycle of of feedback is. And is it a lot of like the things I participated in before, I would get feedback from by posting on the network and then getting feedback. And is that the main way that feedback is given? Like, what about if something is, if somebody wants more detailed feedback from an instructor? Can you talk about the trajectory for getting that? If it's
yeah, well, the main way is publicly in the Mighty Network, and the Mighty Network is set up for kind of like Facebook. I think it's way more cleaner and intuitive than Facebook. The instructors are there during their 6 or 8 weeks and will comment, especially if you tag them. They're all friendly, and it's part of their job to be available directly to offer help in the form of commenting and offering specifics on your work as you go and post it in the Mighty Network. I will say that all of them are super friendly, and Sydney even will make extra videos. He'll say like, oh, I've noticed a couple of people asking questions about this or struggling with this, so here's another, I just made it, here's another 5-minute video. And there are other instructors who, if you say, hey, can I just have 15 minutes of your time, they'll do that too. None of them are required to do that, but they're all friendly enough, and you're certainly welcome to ask them. And then if they, but that's happened. I mean, every once in a while, a student needs something specific that they're just not going to get in that particular setting, and we can arrange it that way too. Also, most of the instructors, actually all of them with the exception of Justine, will be on a Zoom call at least once, and will offer feedback in a way. And that might be a time to say, hey, can I have 15 minutes of your private time if you want private time with them? We usually don't offer anything more than something like that, but like I said, they're all friendly, and you can kind of ask them, and they'll usually say yes. So I hope that helps.
I think an important note about
trying to get from one. Oh, sorry.
No, you're okay. But Susanna, I just wanted to add that at the end of each quarter, there is an assignment, and that assignment gets direct feedback, whether that's a video or a written response. So you will have definitely at least one instructor who gives you detailed feedback on your assignment submissions. And then in the final quarter, which is the mentoring period, you're working closely with like a professional cartoonist. And during that time, there is at least 4 opportunities for you to have live in-depth feedback on your work. And that is a little bit different from how we structure it in other programs.
Oh yeah, that is really different. So it actually works towards a mentorship program, and there's feedback on an assignment.
Yeah.
So that if something like, I have trouble with cross hatching. I'm not great with shadows and cross hatching. I get really confused about, when I'm overdoing it and when I'm underdoing it. So if that's like a theme, I'm sure I could flag it in the network, but it's such a specific thing, and everybody has their different style of cross hatching. So it can just be hard to get feedback and to really know what works and what doesn't work if I'm trying to like perfect a certain aspect of my skills.
That makes sense. There's definitely going to be opportunities for responding to things like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Susanna. And thanks, Emma, for handling that. Emma, do you want to handle fielding the next few calls? Here's how I have it in line: Janice, Valerie, and then Aaron. Okay.
Janice, did you want to unmute? And
yeah, I'm unmuted. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just following up with the last person. I guess the difference is when you're live and you're in a studio, the instructor can walk by and then say, hey, have you thought about trying this? And so it's very different when you're submitting work online. It's a very different experience of how the instructor's even looking at it and how you're getting correction, as it were, because when you're in a class, you can say, hey, I'm really having trouble with this, and someone might take a pencil and then just show you. I know I did actually, I worked a little bit with Paul Karasik, and I'd say, I don't know how to draw this, and he'd like do a drawing and hold it up, and then I'd screenshot something. So is that kind of feedback available? Because obviously you don't have the same thing as in the studio.
Absolutely, yes. Whether that's in the network, so posting your work, it may not be responding in real time, but there are definitely opportunities for specific.
And when you say the network, is this like a closed,
yes,
like a private
so,
network for this group?
Yeah, it's like a social forum. It's private for people who
Okay.
are enrolled in the course. There is a public component. So if before the year long you wanted to explore and see what it looks like and see how it works, you're welcome to
Yeah.
join. But there will be like a interior group that is private and only people in the program.
The other question I have is, so I'm working on a memoir, but I need deadlines. I don't get anything done without deadlines. So can you like obviously people do this, tailor all the assignments to your project? It's obviously sometimes you're going to be broader, but with the end goal of completing it or getting a lot more done, is that acceptable? Or
Absolutely. We've definitely had a number of students who've tailored their assignments in that way and use them as an opportunity to have a deadline and have an opportunity for direct feedback on their work. So we definitely encourage, if you have an existing project or something specific you want to explore, there are ways to fit that within the course and within the assignments.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And anybody who has additional questions or wants to follow up, feel free to email me or Emma, or find us in any of the number of ways you can find us.
We're just responding to the people with their hands raised now, but we are tracking the comments as well. So we'll respond to those once we've got through the raised hands.
I'll look a little bit at the comments right now.
Valerie, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much. I'm Valerie. I'm in Seattle, Washington, and I attended the video presentation of the recent students' work, and I was blown away. And I'm really attracted to this class, but I know I'm not ready. And I just made a quick list of what I feel I need to do to be ready for next year, September 2023. I hope the class will be offered. Also, I want to say I'm looking forward to getting the anthology. I'm going to order it when this session is over. But here's my list, and I'd like to know if there's anything anyone would add to get ready for next year's class if it's offered. Draw a lot every day, a lot. Share my work, which I am very reluctant to do. Participate in as many of the SAW Friday night webinars that I can, and work on improving my work habits. Is there anything else that people would recommend to get ready for next year?
I would say that's all the stuff we'll have you doing in the year. So it sounds like you are ready. Honestly, I think the only thing keeping somebody from being ready really is like major life commitments. You know, if they have really something major that they can't shoehorn this into. But that's exactly what we'll be having you do. We won't make the Friday night workshops mandatory, but everything else you'll be doing a lot of. Emma, anything after that?
No, I totally agree with that. I don't know that I have anything to add.
Well, can I follow up? Do you? You might have already answered this, but does the class address work habits, things like procrastination and letting other things get in the way?
Our best.
Am I the only one who has this problem?
Our best calls are always about that, where we like, and you know, like, I'm surprised because like, I'll think we're going to be talking about perspective, or we're going to be talking about something like drawing, and we'll start there, but then it'll get deeper into like, just why am I doing this? What kind of frustration am I having? How do I get out of this spiral? All those things. And those are the best calls. It also happens in the network too, but I feel like those things tend to happen a little bit more on the live calls. Absolutely, you're not alone. I mean, me and Emma both are in desperate need of help when it comes to that. So I'm sorry if I'm speaking for Emma, but but you're getting a lot of good feedback in the chat, by the way. Jenny says that's why she needs to do this course. You can never make comics without school. Yeah, those issues are real, and we talk about them a lot. And they're more, to be totally transparent, they're more structured in the final quarter, in the third quarter rather, where we talk about markets, art, and practice. But it comes up all the time. And we also have some resources. Like I made this little course called Taming the Inner Critic. It's all about just a bunch of weird exercises to get us used to taming the inner critic. But that's also what our Friday night workshops are about. And we have this like Wednesday night thing that happens. These are ancillary to the year-long program. These are completely separate, but we have a lot of things like that at SAW, where we're just we're really just creating community and creating a nurturing space to make art and not feel bad about it. Like that's a big goal of ours. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure. Emma, you want to, what's next?
Hi, Erin. I have you next up on the screen if you wanted to unmute yourself.
Hi. So I live in Brussels in Belgium. So I'm like 6 hours ahead of you. So the 2 o'clock calls on Monday afternoons I can make, so it's 8 p.m., but the 8 o'clock calls I won't be able to make. And I'm wondering, are there going to be a lot of things that happen in the evening on the East Coast that I wouldn't be able to join? That's the first question. And then the second one is just a really basic question, but basically each week, the courses, there'll be videos and they'll be released, and then we watch them on our own time and then do the assignments and send them back in if we want, off the exercises, if we want feedback, and then we can join in the live calls. And is that mainly the interaction that happens, is those live calls? And then the rest is through text?
Emma, you want to handle that? Or do you want me to?
Sure.
Clear?
No, it was really clear. Thank you for that, Erin. And you've kind of got the nail on the head. There are these 3 components, or I guess 2 primary ways to engage. That is through, or 3 ways in the sense that you're independent on your own working on things. And there's the secondary component, which is interaction through the network, which is text-based and is all through comments and responding on posts. And then that third interaction is the call that we offer once a week. And that is an opportunity to have conversation, check in, specifically with instructors. Responding to someone else in the chat, I mentioned that there are other opportunities to engage with peers. So you'll find our community is really vibrant and generous and always making ways to engage with each other. And one of those that has emerged is peer-led calls once or twice a week, which are opportunities to simulate being in a studio together. So we mentioned before, it's hard to give critique if you're not in the same room. It's also hard to work on your own in isolation. So those calls function as like a accountability, as a place to be social. I know there's a couple of people on the call who can probably speak to that. Those aren't with instructors, but they are opportunities to learn peer-to-peer. Does that help answer that?
Yeah. So, and I see Siobhan is writing that she's in the UK. So maybe there'd be other people that, for time, zone purposes.
Which was part of your question. I'm sorry I missed that.
Yeah.
We do have half of our calls during the daytime and the other half in the evening to kind of hopefully reach through those different time zones. We had someone coming in from, it was like 3 a.m. where they were. That was when they could join us. So I know it's not easy for everyone, but hopefully it's able to cross over. And the thing I think about with the live calls is they're not mandatory. They're like an additional and hopefully like supplementary offering that can deepen what you're doing, but they will be recorded so you can catch up if there's content you've missed and things like that.
Recorded. I know myself, and I know that in a virtual program, if I'm not regularly interacting, I'll drift away to other things. So I want to make sure that there are enough opportunities that I would still be able to interact on a live basis, but it sounds like it. So, okay.
Before this call, I'll share my screen and show a little bit about what that network looks like too, because because it's very robust and utilized constantly. Its interaction with images and video is pretty robust too. So, and we'll send you reminders as often as you need as well. If you can be like, I mean, we go so far our way for students. If you were like, can you send me a text message every week before the call, we would do it. So long as it's not too much extra to go intercontinental like that. And also just to Emma's points, the one reason we have the 2 separate calls is we're managing so many different time zones, and we're really trying our best. We've had quite a few people from the UK, but we also get them from Australia, New Zealand, and the Middle East. And so, yeah, we're trying.
Yep. No, great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Emma, who's next?
I think I have Kat up next. Hi, Kat.
Hello. I have a lot of questions and I don't want to take up everyone's time. So I think maybe I should email you guys about some of them, if that's okay. So sticking to practical ones that I feel like maybe other people would want to know about. So with the low residency option, I understand that there are some optional in-person weeks, and the one that I saw on the website was October 24th to 28th. But are there others, and the dates are they like, what's the like general timeline for those?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we offer 3 in-person weeks, and we're kind of releasing dates 3 months in advance, which I'm realizing can be hard to plan around. But they tend to be that October session, and then another one in February, which has a focus. This year will be graphic memoir. And then the 3rd session will be in either March or April. They are not only accessible to people within the year-long program. They are open to anyone who wants to join. We cap it at 16 participants, but there will be like various voices in the room, not just people who are going through the program.
That's great to know. That was actually going to be my follow-up question on that. Do you still have spots in the October one?
Definitely, yeah.
Oh.
Where I think for a lot of people, they're still kind of figuring out how they can get here. So we have a big community of people here in Gainesville already, but we're hoping it's an opportunity for people to come from outside of Gainesville. And it has been. We've been doing this for like 10 years. There are people always coming for the week long.
Cool. So those are the week-long workshops that would maybe be between now and like next September would be those ones. Great. Yes. Okay, then one more. What are some features that you have observed of some of your most successful students? And I don't necessarily mean like professional success, but like people who seem to really get a lot out of the program, whether the low residency or the in-person.
That's such a great question. I have my answer, and I know that Tom will have a different answer.
Good.
What I have seen works best is that if you're passionate about this, you're going to make the time for it. You're here, you're obviously indicating that this is something important to you. Trust that. That's not where your doubts need to be. Continue to show up. And maybe it's not looking at all the course material, because there is a lot. We give you a lot of resources, but it's knowing what you're capable of and making sure that you engage with what you're interested in. That was like a couple of different answers, but I hope that helps.
I like it. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that really is the answer. I was looking for like a quick, maybe slightly glib answer that might completely summarize it, but the truth is just wanting it and showing up is really it. Like I was first going to say, well, they're all crazy. And then Janice is raising her head. And then I was going to say, but that's not true, because I'm thinking of somebody like Sammy, for instance, Emma, from last year, who was so diligent and just quietly did so much great work and made these transformations over the year. You know, Sammy's not crazy. You know, Dante's crazy, and we love both of them equally. And Emma and I are also kind of crazy, so that's why we can say these things about our students. But like everyone, crazy or not, but who puts in some amount of work will have like these little revelations along the way, I think, or these little brainstorms or just these points where the work sort of clicks a little bit more, they reach some sort of like new level. It happens a lot, but it does happen when you've been just sort of like showing up week after week, just putting a little bit of time in, putting as much as you can during those 2 and 3 3-week sessions and stuff like that. I hope that wasn't too glib, Emma. Does that help? Okay. And somebody's asking about February memoir dates, Emma. I know those are set, but I couldn't find them online. So, oh, maybe you can answer that. And Kat,
I have it in a calendar somewhere written here. I can confirm before we get off the call.
And I can share my screen before the call, and I'll show our current calendar as it's set up, and also the network. And Kat, you had a lot of questions. We can take one more, I'm sure, if you have another.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to air my personal neuroses on YouTube, so I better save them.
Understood.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Emma, I'll take a moment and answer some of the questions that I've seen in the chat, even though I've answered them in the chat. Let's see if I can find them. So just to be clear, a couple people have asked. So most of the learning, all the learning content, to be clear, actually, yeah, is asynchronous, meaning it happens on your time. It's pre-recorded videos, it's PDFs, but it's also the interaction in the network, which happens on your time as well. So Helen asked that, and I know we've answered that once on the call. The calls themselves are hard to predict. They're always they start as a follow-up to how the particular work is working this week. Maybe what stumbling blocks there are, or they can go in any number of directions. But like I said, they can often go in directions of like, why am I having such a hard time with everything? Okay. Rick asks, at the end of the program, is there talk about what to do next, i.e. where and how to bring everything that you've learned to meet your goals? Yeah, absolutely. And to me, the key there is how to meet your goals, because we don't want to set everybody up with the same goals. So honestly, what we want is you happy with your practice when you're doing your work, feeling confident, feeling strong, and feeling sort of empowered to go forward. That's the main thing. So yeah, there's a lot of talk, especially in the third quarter, about that, but it'll continue as we move on, even in the summer, which is technically part of the program, but also technically we're pretty much done with everything. We're even talking about those things. So let's see. Have I answered all the other questions? Emma, do you think thought I saw a couple more? Emma answered the one from Debbie. We have one call scheduled with instructors per week. Usually that's me or Emma handling it, but we bring in, Sydney will come in for one, Rob will come in for one, Ayani will run her own, Lauren will come in for one. And I've actually formally told, we're pretty informal here in some ways, like the community, Emma was talking about all the ways in which the community has supports itself or supports each other, these community-led projects, and such as shared studio time and stuff like that. And so a lot of informal stuff has happened in the SOC community over the past few years. But sometimes we actually take the additional steps to formalize that. So I've told Sydney, for instance, that I'd like him to arrange with the students a time to do 2 figure drawing sessions where he would lead it and everyone would work together. But the important part about that is to canvas the students when everybody's up and running. Like, when is a good time? Can we arrange a time here? So that wouldn't be top down. That would be like come from you guys speaking with Sydney about when that would be a good time. And likewise, I've asked Rob to do the same thing, and I'll ask Lauren to do the same thing as well. Justine, we're not going to get on a call this year because she, in total transparency, is taking vows to become a Hindu monk. It's probably a better term for that, but I don't know what it is, I'm afraid. But she's going to be in the network, and that's part of, she's allowed to do that. So a lot of great comments and feedback from Jenny, thank you. And R. Meyer says this course is designed for beginners to join. The first quarter functions as oh, that's Emma saying to R. Myers. I'm not sure where the question is, but thanks. Okay. Sorry if Sally says you can create your own Zoom study groups, like a meeting of a virtual coffee house. Monty. Okay, if you don't mind, I'm going to share. If anyone has any additional questions, feel free. And Emma is handling some more of the chat. I'm going to share my screen really fast just to show a couple of details that I might have neglected. or just skipped over. One is, this is, oh wait, I wanted to show the calendar. Hang on a second, oops. Thought the calendar was here, sorry. Ah, there it is. This is the current calendar we think is what it will look like. Emma and I need to go over this with fine-tooth comb. First session is through October 14th with the week-long retreat, October 24th. We'll finish the second quarter, December 9th, the final product or the final assignment due the 23rd, and we take a holiday break. Third session ends February 10th, but the final work is due the 24th. Emma, I assume that, I don't know when the memoir group is, to be honest, and you might know when that second in-person session is. And then I presume somewhere in late April will be our fourth live session. And I'm going to try and come for at least one of those, if not two of them. But in the SAW program, which is, I'm going to close this, actually I'll go here. So this is what the network looks like before people are in it. Actually, there's a few people, our upcoming network is here. You can see some people are already in there posting and introducing themselves. This is a quick glimpse at last year's network towards the end, as people were finishing up work and sharing some of what they were working on. You can see that there's lots of images and people posting what they're working on and getting lots of comments from each other, from the instructors, et cetera, et cetera. It's a very robust system that works pretty well. It has, this is called Mighty Networks. We're pretty happy with it. It's got its flaws, like anything. You're always a little unhappy. Nothing's perfect, but it works pretty well. Okay, I'll stop sharing. Was that everything I wanted to show? I think so. Okay, and if Emma, are you handling the chat? Is there anything else I need to? Okay. Well, the course, Dakara is asking, will there be courses on techniques developing your technique for those who are self-taught learning? Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good question. The specifics specifics are offered more as ancillary courses. So like Justine's inking course, for instance, is very, very technical and very focused on ink. And that's offered as a sort of optional course. A lot of the learning, especially because we're virtual and online, is experimental, and also because we don't want to teach everybody the same thing. There was a time when we did, but I think printing has changed that, and computers have changed that, and so like not everybody needs to learn ink anymore. Whereas when I was growing up and learning, everybody had to learn ink because it was the only way that you could get anything printed. So we have Jess Rellifson on call to do gouache and watercolor. Likewise, Lauren gives brief introductions, actually not even that brief, to be honest, on rendering in pencil and rendering in paint. The instruction in the first few weeks about designing the gesture, capturing the gesture, drawing the body, that's pretty technical, and it does help quite a bit. So that, I hope that answers that. We have other courses that again are like, they're free or they're nominal, on flat coloring, or on digital coloring rather. One by Sydney, and then one by, I've forgotten the other one. Somehow I've lost track of everything. Yeah, and I can't keep up with the chat, but I'm working on it. But I think I see Emma typing away. So anyway, it's 1:51. We've done a good job keeping it under an hour. I'm happy to answer any more questions. And also, I'm going to post again where you can find us in the Mighty Network, just in case you just want to join. That's very easy. Emma just put her email in, and yeah, I just want to, maybe just end by saying, what am I going to say, Emma? What I'm going to say is that running a school like this is kind of, running anything is kind of tricky. And and anytime, if there's anybody who runs any kind of their own business or whatever out there, feel free to chime in or nod in approval or shake your head in disapproval, but there's so much weird marketing involved. And the funny thing is lately I've been finding that some of our marketing is kind of ahead of the curve. And what I mean by that is like, I'm getting emails from like, oh, Jenny says, oh yes, thank you, Jenny, for acknowledging that, because I wanted to feel not alone. I've been finding that what we do as marketing here is sort of coinciding lately, especially the past year, with what we do naturally anyway. What we've done naturally, whether by design or by accident, has been forming community and getting people together and getting people who are artists or people who want to be better artists together. And that's what we've done. Like, I mean, I started this school in 2011, I think. I forgot. And I've got this long history of just like trying to get people to work together in small groups and learn things in small groups. And before that, tons of little projects where I would just try and sort of create some sort of mini community, mostly because I just felt so like there were so many forces against us. The only way we could sort of combat them was to work together. And anyway, so the long way of saying that, like, a lot of what has come natural to us as a school, like putting people together, giving them tools to express themselves, giving them tools to like speak with each other. A lot of that I'm sort of reading when I occasionally read like the marketing literature. They're like, you need to create community. You need to give people tools where they can. I'm like, we do that. How cool is that? Like suddenly, like our marketing, and this our call is an example of marketing too. But it's also a chance to just hear from you all, and it's also a chance to find out what interests you, and to find out who in the UK is making comics, and who in wherever you are is making comics, and who else out there is trying to make what kind of comics. I mean, learning that kind of stuff and hearing from people and shepherding and helping people. I mean, it's really, really nice. I mean, it's nice when the sweet spots line up where like somebody needs exactly what you've done before and you can give them the exact answer, but most of the time you can't. Most of the time you just share stories and you share techniques that you've acquired, and then people take it to their own sort of inner space, and then they apply it, and then something new comes out of it. That's always good. I don't know. Now I'm just rambling, but Emma knows I tend to ramble at the end of all the calls. Are we missing anything in the chat? We should go because it's 1:55. Sorry about that.
No, that was great. Thanks, Tom. And thank you everyone for being here with us today. We are available to answer questions after today. I've put my email in the chat. We're also have a bunch of contact us spots throughout our website. So wherever you are on the internet, you should be able to find us. So yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Feel free to reach out. Thank you so much. Emma, as always, thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you soonish, right? All right. And everyone, if it's daytime where you are, go get some fresh air. If it's nighttime, then have a nice evening. And if it's the middle of the night, thank you so much for coming, for waking up in the middle of the night. And feel free to reach out. We really would love to have you. This is one of our favorite things to do, is like teach people comics, and the year-long program for me, especially because it's got this structure that I really like and helped me. I hope it'll help you too. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to click end call now. Goodbye.